I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ghana.
Mr. President, it is an honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the group of friends of the African Women Leaders Network to the United Nations, which is co-chaired by Ghana and Germany. At the outset, the group of friends of the African Women Leaders Network wishes to thank the Federal Republic of Germany for convening today's open debate on women, peace, and security agenda with the focus on sexual violence in conflict. I also wish to express the group's appreciation to the Secretary General for his comprehensive report on the subject and to all the briefers for their informative briefing and contributions on the subject. Mr. President, it is a sad fact that throughout history, sexual violence has been used as a weapon of war, often employed as a deliberate strategy by state and non-state actors. It is even more disheartening that in spite of the landmark Security Council resolutions that condemn these horrific crimes and acknowledge the threats they pose to international peace and security, sexual violence continues to be a common feature of armed conflicts around the world. It is significant, therefore, that this debate is taking place in the 10th year of the establishment of the mandate of the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Sexual Violence and in the lead up to the 20th anniversary of Security Council Resolution 1325. It is an opportune moment to explore the root causes as well as effects of conflict-related sexual violence and how to enhance preventive mechanisms, promote survivor-centered responses, and to ensure justice and accountability. The group of friends of the AWLN wishes to focus this intervention on 5 major areas on this issue. First and foremost, we share the view that structural gender inequality and discrimination are at the heart of conflict-related sexual violence and must be given due primacy in our collective and national preventive efforts. Addressing the imbalances in power relations between men and women and promoting gender equality and women's full inclusion in all aspects of national life cannot be discounted in this effort. We encourage member states to pursue the necessary national policies, legislation, education, and advocacy at all levels of society in this regard. We also call upon the international community to continue providing strong support to member states, particularly in conflict and post-conflict situations, to enable them fulfill their national responsibilities and deliver on their commitments in response to this scourge. Second, the group is of the view that the nexus between sexual violence, human trafficking, terrorism, and violent extremism is critical and must be clearly understood in order to inform strategies in dealing with this scourge and to better address specific vulnerabilities in specific conflict situations. We share the view that victims are not a homogeneous group and that a better appreciation of the scope, patterns, and emerging trends in the use of sexual violence as a tactic of war would enhance our responses and preventive mechanisms. The high-level UN-AU-AWLN joint fact-finding missions to conflict zones in Africa in 2017 and 2018 provided significant outcomes to better target appropriate responses in those situations. We wish to advocate continuing support for this unique partnership and collaborative effort between the UN, the African Union, and the African Women Leaders Network for African conflict situations. Third, it is critical that the international community supports a survivor-centered and community-led approach in prevention efforts and responses to sexual violence in conflict situations. Enhanced support for survivors must include strengthening medical, psychosocial, physiological, and rehabilitation platforms that prioritize the rights and needs of survivors. We must engage religious and traditional leaders within affected communities to mitigate stigma and reintegration of victims and their children in society. Women-led organizations, especially in Africa, have demonstrated a real potential for impacting these interventions. And with predictable funding and capacity building, they can also be mobilized to provide a reliable vehicle to enhance informal community-level protection and response mechanisms. In this regard, the Group of Friends is pleased to report that members of the African Women Leaders Network initiative are being proactive on the ground in this direction by providing health services, psychological support, legal aid, economic opportunity, and other forms of support to victims and survivors of sexual violence in conflict. Fourth, protection, relief, and rehabilitation efforts must be complemented by the urgent creation of an enabling environment for women's participation and leadership in prevention, peace, security, and governance processes. Lastly, the Group of Friends of the AWLN wishes to stress the need for zero tolerance in dealing with incidents of sexual violence in conflict, as they constitute a violation of human rights and a crime under international humanitarian and human rights law. While it is widely acknowledged that perpetrators must be held accountable, criminal accountability in the face of these violations remain elusive, with little chance for survivors to see offenders face justice. Victims' fear of reprisals, rejection, lack of access to justice systems, as well as other structural barriers to reporting should not be underestimated and must be addressed. The Group of Friends urges governments to reinforce the capacity of their justice and security sectors to deal effectively with these challenges, working in close partnership with community and faith-based organizations. We advocate sensitization of national security agencies and an increase in the representation of women. Additionally, gender-sensitive transitional justice should be an integral part of peace building and post-conflict reconstruction processes. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ghana.